Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternities, What Should Have Won the Oscars, Part 3, My Awards. In my first two parts, I went through the last 30 years of Oscar Best Picture nominees and said what won and what I think should have won. And along the way, I named some nominees for my own personal awards, and in this video, I will name the winner of those awards. And those awards are Worst Year of Best Picture Nominees, Film Least Worthy of Being Nominated, Least Worthy Film to Win Best Picture, Best Year for Best Picture Nominees, Film that Most Deserved to Win Best Picture but wasn't even freaking nominated, Film that Most Deserved to Win Best Picture but didn't, and the Best Choice for Best Picture. So just to let you know how this will go, after naming the nominees, instead of jumping straight to the winner, I'll do a process of elimination until I'm only left with several films, and then we'll name the winner out of them. So first award is Worst Year for Best Picture nominees, and the nominees are 1987, where the nominees were The Last Emperor, Broadcast News, Fatal Attraction, Hope and Glory, and Moonstruck. 2004, where the nominees were Million Dollar Baby, The Aviator, Finding Neverland, Ray, and Sideways. 2011, where the nominees were The Artist, The Descendants, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, The Help, Hugo, Midnight in Paris, Moneyball, The Tree of Life, and Warhorse. So the first year I'll eliminate is 2011, since there are a lot of films, including the one that won Best Picture, I have not seen. So it's not quite fair for me to judge it based on what I think the movies might have been like, which leaves 1987 and 2004. Both had a lot of bad choices, but 1987 edges it for me because it had a couple real stinkers worse than anything in 2004, such as Broadcast News, Hope and Glory, and Fatal Attraction. And more importantly, there were no other films in 2004 that were really worthy of Best Picture, whereas in 1987 there were two great films that were snubbed, The Untouchables and Full Metal Jacket, and they were snubbed for absolute crap fests like Fatal Attraction. So 1987 wins the award for Worst Year for Best Picture nominees. The next award is Film Least Worthy of Being Nominated, and the nominees are Fatal Attraction, Ghost, Bugsy, The Fugitive, Four Weddings and a Funeral, Babe, The Sixth Sense, Gangs of New York, Lost in Translation, Frost Nixon, Avatar, Up in the Air, and Gravity. So, Babe was a silly kids movie, but not a horrible movie, so I'll take that one out of the running first. Avatar was a highly overrated ripoff of Dances with Wolves, but still decent flick, so that goes next. Up in the Air was an unremarkable romantic comedy, but not too bad of a flick, so that's out. Frost Nixon was over the top with artificially creating tension, but it had some great acting and storytelling, so I'll take that out next. The Sixth Sense, highly overrated ghost story, depending on the twist, but it's still an interesting movie to watch, so that's out. Gangs of New York followed a ridiculous plot, but featured some tense moments and great acting, so I'll take that out. Gravity had obvious, ridiculous metaphors and cheesy dialogue and simplistic, unoriginal story, but it was amazingly put together and cool to look at, so I'll take that out next. The Fugitive was a typical action thriller that in no way deserved Best Picture, but it was a good movie to watch, so that's gone. And I guess Four Weddings and a Funeral was an okay movie, despite being a stupid romantic comedy. So that leaves Fatal Attraction, Ghost, Bugsy, and Lost in Translation. And I hated all of these films, and none of them came anywhere close to deserving to be nominated for Best Picture in my opinion. But out of the worst, the first film I'll take out is Lost in Translation, a film I have many times cited as my least favorite movie of all time, as it's so incredibly pointless and boring. But I do have to admit it featured some good performances, and perhaps my hatred of slice of life films is blinding me from how good it actually is. So that's out. And the next movie I'll eliminate is Bugsy. For one thing, it's been decades since I've seen it, so my memory of it might be a bit hazy, but this is another film I cited as my least favorite movie of all time. But again, my bias against mobster genre might be interfering with my judgment here as well, so that's gone. So that leaves Fatal Attraction and Ghost, two movies that my jaw dropped when I saw they were on the nomination list because they were just both so objectively speaking bad. Everything from script to dialogue to acting was just cheesy. I could not, in any sense be considered good movies. But out of the two, I'm going to have to go with the film that's not just bad, it's also sexist. So, Fatal Attraction wins the award for a film least worthy of being nominated. So next award is least worthy film to win Best Picture, and the nominees are Out of Africa, Titanic, Shakespeare in Love, Gladiator, Chicago, The Departed, No Country for Old Men, and Slumdog Millionaire. All bad films that don't deserve Best Picture, but I think the first two I'll eliminate are The Departed and No Country for Old Men. Two films that were good but were ruined by horrible endings. So they actually have a lot of good in them, so they're out. Next I'll take out Shakespeare in Love. Not objectively speaking a bad film, but just nowhere near deserving to be mentioned anywhere near Best Picture. Now this is getting hard. The next film I'll take out is Slumdog Millionaire. There's not much redeemable about this film, from its two-dimensional love story to its silly artificial tension created around a game show. But I guess it tells the story of a poor kid who works his way up. So alright, I'll take that out. Next, I guess I'll eliminate Out of Africa. Even though this film is the very definition of boring, I guess it had some good acting or something. And I guess I'll take out Titanic, which was mildly entertaining to watch. It just had the disadvantage of being one of the most overrated films of all time. So that leaves Gladiator and Chicago, two incredibly bad stink fests which I badly wanted to walk out of the theater. Gladiator was really boring, really cliched, had no redeeming qualities, but no film can be quite as bad as total crap fest that deserved a Razzie, not an Oscar. One of the few films in my life I actually did stop watching halfway through because it was just so annoying. Chicago. So Chicago wins the award for least worthy film to win Best Picture. So now moving on to a more positive awards. First up we have Best Year for Best Picture nominees, and the nominees are 1994, where the nominees were Forrest Gump, Four Weddings and a Funeral, Pulp Fiction, Quiz Show, and The Shawshank Redemption. 2005, where the nominees were Crash, Brokeback Mountain, Capote, Good Night and Good Luck, and Munich. 2014, where the nominees were American Sniper, Birdman, Boyhood, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, Selma, The Theory of Everything, and Whiplash. The first year I'll have to eliminate is 2014 because the best film of that year is ominously missing from the list, and that is Nightcrawler. It's also missing Interstellar, but I won't get too much into that. So that just leaves 1994 and 2005, two very strong years. 2005's strength is that all the films nominated are good films, unlike 1994, which has Four Weddings and a Funeral and on its list, and it totally doesn't deserve to be there. But in the end, Forrest Gump, Shawshank Redemption, and Pulp Fiction are far, far superior films to Crash, Munich, and Good Night and Good Luck. Shawshank and Pulp Fiction alone make up two of the greatest films of all time. So I'm going to have to give it to 1994. So 1994 wins the award for Best Year for Best Picture nominees. Next award is film that most deserved to win Best Picture but wasn't even frickin' nominated. And the nominees are Full Metal Jacket, The Untouchables, Glory, Armistead, Memento, Blood Diamond, Cloud Atlas, and Nightcrawler. The first movie I'll eliminate is Armistead, the best of that year but not one of the greatest movies of all time by any stretch. Next I'll take out Blood Diamond, another really strong movie but not one of the greatest. Now it's getting really hard, but I'll have to take out Full Metal Jacket, an excellent war movie, but a bit disjointed. And after that, I'll have to take out The Untouchables, an outstanding film, but it does drag on for a little bit. And after that, I'll have to eliminate Glory, one of a kind Civil War movie, but it does have its drawbacks. So that leaves Memento, Cloud Atlas, and Nightcrawler. Memento and Cloud Atlas are both in my top 10 favorite movies of all time, and Nightcrawler doesn't even make my top 50, but I'm being a bit realistic on what kind of film had a chance of winning the Oscars, and as much as I loved Cloud Atlas, it had a love-hate relationship with critics and audiences, so practically speaking, it could never win. And ultimately, I don't think Memento was the type of movie the Oscars typically win for either. So, Nightcrawler wins the award for film that most deserved to win Best Picture but wasn't even frickin' nominated. Next up is the award for film that most deserved to win Best Picture that didn't. This award is for films that were nominated for Best Picture but didn't win, and the nominees are The Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, Saving Private Ryan, Traffic, Atonement, and District 9. I love all of these films, but the first I'll have to take out is District 9 because this was more action-based film. I can kind of see why it didn't win. Next out is Saving Private Ryan. Although it was far superior to anything nominated that year, I'd hardly call it one of the greatest films of all time. Next out is Atonement, spectacularly depressing film, but it was a bit too slow-paced at times. And I'll also have to take out Pulp Fiction. As much as I love this film, it was in the same year as Shawshank Redemption, which ultimately I think was a bit more worthy. So that leaves The Shawshank Redemption and Traffic. I love The Shawshank Redemption. It's in my top 20 favorite movies of all time. But the thing is, I have to go by what else was nominated that year, and Shawshank was up against several other strong movies such as Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction, whereas Traffic, the only other movie nominated that year that came anywhere close to it, was Aaron Brockovich, and these two films were directed by the same guy. Plus, the movie that did win that year was Gladiator, a god-awful film that didn't even come close to deserving to win Best Picture, so I think it's a bigger travesty that Traffic didn't win. So, Traffic wins the award for film that most deserved to win Best Picture but didn't. And we come to the final award, and that is Best Choice for Best Picture, the film that did win the Oscar for Best Picture, and I think most deserved to do so. So this was the time where the Oscars actually got it right. And the nominees are Platoon, Rain Man, Dances with Wolves, The Silence of the Lambs, The Unforgiven, Schindler's List, Braveheart, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, 12 Years a Slave, and Birdman. So the first movie I'll take out is Platoon, a great war movie, but not one of the greatest of all time. Next to go will be Rain Man. Some good performances, but not a blow-me-away film by any means. Next to go, I think, will be The Unforgiven, an unforgettable film, but a bit boring at times. Next, I'll have to take out Birdman. Good example of outstanding filmmaking with some excellent performances, and everything else about it is good, but the ending kind of sucked. Next, I'll take out 12 Years a Slave, a great film about slavery, but a tad bit cliched in some regards. Next to go is Silence of the Lambs, an outstanding psychological thriller with some amazing cast, but again it fell into a bit of a few crime genre cliches. So that just leaves Dances with Wolves, Schindler's List, Braveheart, and The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. All great movies, but first to go will have to be Dances with Wolves, as it was a tad bit slow at times. And next to go will be Schindler's List, an outstanding film in every sense of the word, but it does digress an awful lot from the main story and does suffer greatly from some pacing issues. So that just leaves Braveheart and The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, two of my favorite movies of all time. Both films for me define what the word epic means. But out of the two, The Return of the King is just more dynamic, more complex, more emotional, and just more amazingly done. So The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King wins the award for Best Choice for Best Picture. In my opinion, the one that the Oscars really got right. So that's it for my What Should Have Won the Oscars videos. If you haven't already, you should check out part 1 and 2 of the series. There will be links in the description below. And make sure you check out my channel and subscribe for other film and TV reviews. And thanks a lot for watching.